Welcome to another team analysis video for AFL Fantasy 2025. Today we are talking some GWS Giants. Let's get into it. Coming in as my main beast for 2025 is Mr. Lockie Whitfield. Whitfield is a genuine A-grade fantasy stud, a swingman defender who gets open for endless marks and has a great kick-to-handball ratio. He took 159 kick-ins last year and played on from 147 of those, which is just insane kick-in numbers. With the experienced players in Isaac Cumming, Harry Perryman, James Peatling all leaving, there really isn't a whole lot happening depth-wise at the Giants in defense after Whitfield, Himmelberg and Lockie Ash. So I think Whitfield will be taking it all on his shoulders and leading again from the back line in 2025 and could be in for an even bigger year with, all that responsibility on his shoulders. And I have him as my number one defender coming into the year. I don't expect him to be there in the second half of the first round of any drafts, honestly. If he is there in round one, get on board because, absolute superstar of the competition, Lockie Whitfield. Another stud of the GWS Giants is Mr. Tom Green, a midfielder coming into the season. He is a huge accumulator of the footy, and he had a year of mostly ups, but a few downs last year, including a big down where he had a 7-point game early in the year, and that alone brought his average down by almost 5 points in total. So without that 7-point game, he would have been closer to a 104 average. With a full season of good health, I think he should be able to get well above that 100 mark this year. And last year I had him as my number one midfielder, so I've been a bit more cautious this year. But in the back of my mind, I still want him to be a top 5 midfielder this year. So look out, could be on the cards for some big things this year, Tom Green. And my final beast to consider in drafts this year is a forward in the form of Brent Daniels. He bumped his average up by almost 12 points last year to get a new personal best of 82. But what was really exciting was he showed us his high ceiling with a massive 171-point game to finish the season in round 23. He brought a lot of forward pressure last year and upped his average tackles by 1.5 per game and also increased his disposal count and marking game as well. Going into 2025, I think he'll pick up exactly where he left off last year with more experience in him. If he can just stay a little bit more consistent, he could possibly be a top 10 forward for this year. On to some breakouts and sleepers now, and the big one I have off the bat here is Mr. Stephen Cornelio. Cornelio had his worst season in a long time last year, being subbed off 3 times. If he is healthy this year, he is definitely 10 points under his potential average, minimum. Even at 31, I still think he's the third main midfielder at the Giants behind Green and Josh Kelly if he can stay healthy. He seems like he's having a very decent preseason so far, so fingers crossed he can get plenty of games into him this year and get back to some serious CBA numbers in 2025. I have him as my midfielder 35 at the moment, but that could easily increase closer we get to the start of the season. Lockie Ash now is a defender to consider pretty early on in drafts this year, I reckon. Entering his 6th year in the AFL, I think he has become a leader at the club and is ready to take on even more responsibility. Last year he was subbed off for a lowly 18 in round 2, but other than that he had a very good floor last year, not going lower than 61. GWS has just lost a bunch of defensive experience in Isaac Cumming and Harry Perryman, leaving at the end of last year. I just think Ash will be making the most of the extra opportunities this year. I think he is easily a top 30 defender, but he is very possibly into the top 20 mix by the season end as well. On to a rookie here in the form of Nick Madden, a ruck option for the 2025 season. He's a rookie draft selection from 2022, and last year he averaged 95 in the VFL. I feel like he is the next best ruckman at GWS. There is Lockie O'Keefe there, but he is 34 and he has played only a handful of games himself. So I think Madden has the jump over O'Keefe. If Briggs was not to play at all this year, could we see the emergence of Madden at all? I just think he's one to keep an eye on if the opportunity does arise. I don't have him in my ruck ranks as of yet, but he could be one again if the opportunity presents himself that makes a name for himself this year. And finally, one to beware coming into the season, and this might be a bit controversial, but Jake Stringer is just one that I do not have on my draft boards for 2025. I've never really had him on my draft boards ever though. So I think Stringer was given a lifeline by GWS in what was a very strange move in the off-season. And I felt like GWS was already in a pretty good place with small forwards with Toby Green, Brent Daniels, Toby Bedford, Harvey Thomas, Darcy Jones, Toby McMullen. There's a lot. So I guess GWS might use Stringer in the guts a bit, maybe, but I still just don't get it. And I just feel like he's a strange pick in drafts at all this year. You know, there's probably a lot better forward options on the cards in drafts than Jake Stringer, to be honest. So throw salt at me, but I just won't be picking up Jake Stringer for this season. And one last one to beware here for 2025 is my boy, and kind of breaks my heart here a little bit, but Callan Ward is one to just keep an eye on this year. He is coming into, what is it, season 17 or something? Yeah, he's same age as me, 35 this year, and I just think he's on his last legs, unfortunately. I always pick him in the last 10 years I've been playing fantasy in drafts. I just think he's been great, but I just think this might be the year he starts to drag a little bit, especially when he is midfield only. I think at very best he is like an M7, M6 option during the bye rounds or something. So not one to have your eye on draft day, I don't think. So there you go. There's a few Giants to keep in mind for the 2025 season. Hope I've given you a little bit of insight with this video, and if you like this video at all, please consider liking and subscribing. And yeah, I'll be doing another one of these very, very shortly. We'll be getting into my boys, the Hawthorn Hawks. So I'll see you in that one. Cheers.